All right, good morning. We can start the French Quarter Management District meeting. Madam Clerk.
Roll call. Councilmember Moreno. Councilmember Morrell. Councilmember Jeruso. Here. Councilmember Harris. Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Green. Councilmember Thomas. We don't.
That's just, we just have two, so we don't have a quorum. We
Quorum.
don't really have a,
You want me to read it in?
yeah.
Okay. French Quarter Economic Development District Quarterly Budget and Expenditure Reports of the French Quarter EDD Trust Fund. Carly Frank, Executive Director of the French Quarter Management District. A report on fiscal and operational administration of the French Quarter Economic Development District Trust.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Frankie, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. This is the 2024 first quarter report for the French Quarter Economic Development District. 2024 is the third year of the special sales tax funded program governed by a tripartite cooperative endeavor agreement between the mayor, the city council, and FQMD. Let's go through the trust fund income and expense report. The remittances for the first quarter of 2024 were $977,000. This is a continuation of the increased income over the past 2 years. The expenses remain low in the first quarter at $410,000. You can see that the estimated budget for year to date would be $750,000 in remittances, so we're 130% of the estimated income for the Q1. We are also only at 55% of the estimated expenses within the first quarter of 2024, and that is due to a number of contracts that were not renewed by the city or created by the city. So the expenditures are low because there's $150,000 in the budget for streetlight maintenance. That has not been started at this point. There's also a great deal of money in the budget for homeless services where the contracts have not been executed or paid out. And that's Travelers Aid Society of Greater New Orleans Case Management and Transportation for $243,000. Covenant House Street Outreach to the youth of the neighborhood, which is around $56,000. And the Rapid Rehousing Flex Fund, which is $366,000. None of those contracts have been completed or paid out.
We do have a question from Councilmember Green.
It's all right. I look like Councilmember Green, so I get the confusion. Carly, you've now said it twice, and I feel like this is a recurring theme, unfortunately, when you come here. Are the contracts stuck with the nonprofit inside a department, not moving at all? I mean, I'm not trying to put you in a hard position, but here's the bottom line. Next council meeting, the departments are going to start coming here because if they have not paid their vendors within 30 days, then they're going to publicly explain why that hasn't happened. And it's so important with the Super Bowl and just generally doing business that we make sure contracts are being done as timely as possible.
I could not agree with you more. So the $150,000 for streetlight maintenance, we had $190,000 in the budget last year that didn't get spent. So this year it was reduced to $150,000, and this is supposed to be for maintenance and repairs, not for new installations. We were initially told that there was going to be a new contract, a new RFP for this small amount, and that was going to be the way the city chose to proceed. The administration then decided that they were going to roll it into the existing contract with All Star and Legacy. Keep in mind, this report is for the first quarter. We're now past the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, well past.
Yes. So at this time, DPW has been given a list of repairs from All Star and Legacy, but it lacked a great bit of detail, like specific locations of which lights would be repaired.
Right.
So it's not that this contract, including this in the existing contract, hasn't happened. It's that first there was going to be a new contract, and then they changed their minds and decided to roll it into the existing contract, but the contractor has not provided what is necessary to proceed with those repairs. Now, as for the homeless services, this is a much different situation. So TASNO has been providing case management in our neighborhood for 2 years. the administration did not renew the 2024 contract for case management. They decided to roll it into the contract for the new Rapid Rehousing Flex Fund. Apparently, the contract was misplaced between the CAO's office and the city attorney. There was some changeover in staff in the city attorney's office, and this was on the administration side, that the contract did not happen. It is my understanding now that this specific contract for TASNO case management has proceeded. Councilman King has signed it last week, and now it is in the mayor's office waiting for her signature. I understand she signs contracts on Fridays. The Covenant House Street outreach has now been signed by the mayor as of last week. The Rapid Rehousing Flex Fund, this was a big push to get this approved by our board. We understand that the way to successfully get people off of the street into permanent housing is to provide these wraparound services and provide, move-in packages, landlord incentives, et cetera. This was another one where the administration was not communicating well with the vendor. There was a notice of funding availability that was not put out in a timely fashion. The NOFA is still not closed at this time. So the contract cannot be executed until the NOFA is completed.
All right, let me ask maybe a different way of getting at this. So the administration, the governor have touted how wonderful everything's going to be for the Super Bowl and how everything's going to move smoothly. And I have to believe, in addition to the CBD and the warehouse district, the French Quarter is a part of all of that. Mm-hmm. Are you being rolled up into those Super Bowl activities for contract facilitation and execution so that way we can get things moving faster?
Well, FQMD has a number of pots of money.
Right.
Where we control the money.
One second, Ms. Frank. I just want to acknowledge that Councilmember Morrell joined the meeting.
Right. So contracts where FQMD holds the money in our own account, we are proceeding with. We have a number of projects that FQMD is executing today. You can go out on North Rampart Street and see the improvements we're making there. We had 100 new trash cans delivered this week. We are proceeding with a number of projects where we control the money. This money sits in a city account. FQMD cannot effectuate procurement and contracts for money in a city account. So yes, where we are controlling the money, we're doing the work, but where we don't control the money, we rely on the administration to do the work.
Thank you.
So let's get into our key performance indices. So one of the programs that was funded in the 2022 mid-year budget adjustment was the license plate readers and the crime cameras. As we know, there's 16 to 16 of the license plate readers installed. 83 of the 104 crime cameras are installed and operational. That's only 6 cameras that were installed in the last quarter. The reason those were not installed was because the lighting contract repairs have not been completed. So a number of the cameras are on light poles that have electrical issues. So once those lighting repairs are completed, we can get the rest of those cameras installed. Now, as we go into code enforcement, this is a new one for us this year, having a full-time dedicated code enforcement inspector. In the first quarter, they did 62 initial inspections. There was 52 cases generated. And graffiti, which I know everybody is very concerned about, they did 47 citations for graffiti. Now, the primary line item in the budget is the Supplemental Police Patrol Program. We have very good reports on our KPIs for that program. 100% of our officers are trained in French Quarter specific laws. The app response time is 13 minutes in the first quarter. We did over 1,500 citizen contacts, 665 business checks, and 66% of our shifts were filled. Now, I want to note that since then, the weekday incentive rate has been approved, and we expect that we will be filling even more. We expect up to 85% of our shifts will be filled. And I do want to note that since the first quarter, our app response time has been going down even further, and the NOPD 8th District credits this program with the 8th District having the lowest response time in the entire city. I would also like to note that our Supplemental Police Patrol program has a new supervisor. Since the previous one was promoted and reassigned, Sergeant Castellan has stepped up immensely in his role as supervisor. He's been doing an excellent job working with the officers, addressing outstanding issues with vehicles and equipment that we've had, and he's providing really good, open, transparent communication on a regular basis. Now, of course, we have categories that we track that we don't assign a KPI to, but that we do want to keep an eye on. So you can see that our app calls received has gone up to 445. Other things that are of note in here is that our officers assigned to the 8th District is at 87, which is up from last year's average, and that is because the Mounted Division is now assigned to the 8th District. Our person crimes in the French Quarter are a monthly average of 16. That is very good compared to the rest of the city. So then we get into our homeless services KPIs. So even though Tasno and Covenant House do not have their contracts or have not been paid for the first 5 months of this year, they have still been working. So Tasno has seen, on average, 31 clients a month. They've seen 92 new clients this year so far.
Just want to
They've
recognize, Council President Moreno and Councilmember Harris. So I think we have
Very
now have
good.
that quorum. Thank you.
So I also want to say, even though the Rapid Rehousing Flex Fund has not been contracted or let, the case managers with Tasno, even despite not getting paid, have moved 3 unhoused people into permanent housing in the first quarter. They've connected 27 clients with treatment, enrolled 18 with benefits, and helped assisted 10 in getting their vital records, which is one of the key steps to getting them into the services that they need. We did have 5 returns to homelessness in the neighborhood. And again, Covenant House, despite not getting paid, has also been working. They've met with 17 new youths in this year to provide them services, and they've given out 74 resources. That includes things like bus tickets to get home to their families, hygiene kits, meals, etc. So, we've already talked about the things that we're waiting on from the city. You can see that there's a few of them here on this list for the next quarter. One is making sure that all those homeless services contracts are completed and our contractors are paid. This is very important to our neighborhood. One of the things that we've noted with enforcement, with our code enforcement...
Can I interrupt you? And I know this is Councilmember King's meeting, but we are all concerned about homeless services. And again, you're telling us that we're waiting on contracts from the city?
Yes.
Do you know the status of any of those contracts?
Okay, so the Covenant House contract was signed by the mayor last week. The Tasno case management contract, which should have been a renewal of the 2024 contract, had a number of issues with the administration, both in the CAO's office and the city attorney's office, where initially it was going to be rolled in with the rapid rehousing contract, and then it was not. It was then lost somewhere between the CAO's office and the city attorney's office.
It was lost?
It was
Lost?
yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody from the city here who can tell us the location of this lost
Well,
contract?
today, this is a Q1 report. As of today, the contract was signed by Councilman King last week and is sitting on the mayor's desk for signature this Friday.
Okay.
But the rapid rehousing contract, there is a notice of funding availability to go out so that this rapid rehousing flex fund could be a separate contract.
Right.
The NOFA did not go out in a timely fashion, and
Do you know why?
the administration handles the NOFAs.
Do you-
It's done through the CAO's office.
And there's nobody from the city here who can answer any questions about the timeliness or lack of timeliness. I'm just noting it.
Yeah.
Great.
So as of now, the NOFA will be closing, I believe, next week, and then the contract can be executed at that point.
So we have a lost contract, a late NOFA, and this is impacting services to our unhoused community.
Right, and I do want to be clear that Tasno has still been doing the case management.
Yeah.
They're still out there working. They've been floating their salaries for 3 case managers for 5 months.
This sounds very similar to what happened with Start Corporation, who was running the low barrier shelter, and they were floating operations without getting paid. And again, I just want to note this so that whoever's listening from the administration can really understand how critical getting contracts out the door are. And then they cannot complain or have citizens complain to us as council members that our unhoused people are still on the street because the city has not done its job of executing contracts in a timely manner.
Agreed.
Thank you.
So when we get to the code enforcement, one of our priorities in the second quarter has been to get cross-training for the code enforcement inspector. They have a limited jurisdiction of what they can enforce, but there's a lot of quality of life issues in the French Quarter that fall outside that jurisdiction. So we've been working with OBES to pursue cross-training, like with safety and permits, to be able to address zoning issues, with DPW so we can deal with obstructions in the public right-of-way that impact ADA compliance. So those things we're working on in this year, or in this quarter, so that the code enforcement inspector, even if it's outside their jurisdiction, they can alert the proper department and move those concerns forward to be addressed. The other thing that we have been waiting on, this is our 7th briefing where we've brought this up, that the app that is used by the Supplemental Police Patrol program needs to be put out for proper procurement. The RFP was put out. There were not enough respondents. It was put out again this year. And we have been waiting for the contract has now been signed. Wait, let me rephrase that. The contract is ready, but we've been waiting on the contractor to provide things like cybersecurity, insurance, et cetera. Once the contract is signed, the contractor has 60 days to provide the improvements to the app and release it to the public. This is a really vital part of the program because this is what citizens, residents, business, visitors, workers use to call the Supplemental Police Patrol program. So they're still actively patrolling the neighborhood and responding to things. They respond to the app as it is, and they respond to dispatch calls, but having that app with the proper securities, audits, capabilities built into it is really essential to the success of the program. So again, this is the 7th time we've discussed this at this briefing. So hopefully by the time I'm here for the second quarter briefing, this will be done. And the last thing is the streetlights. This is the 2nd year we've had money in there for fixing streetlights. We are still waiting on Legacy and All-Star to provide appropriate data so that the city can begin fixing the streetlights in the French Quarter, and that will help us get our crime cameras installed. So, you've asked a few questions. Do you have any more?
I have a question. Just based off of your experience, what is the overall temperature in the quarter as it relates to quality of life issues?
Well, we of course have quality of life issues, and we're very excited about the Supergraw subcommittee. We've been invited to participate in that, and I think it's fantastic, and I hope that this collaboration continues beyond Supergraw. We are doing projects that will help the quality of life of our citizens, and therefore will make the quarter more attractive to visitors. We are looking at $1 million of sidewalk repairs that the contracts have now been put out. The RFP responses are in. This is a huge win for our neighborhood. We are working on things like getting Charter Street repaved. There is graffiti abatement that really needs to be done. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, but we are excited about all of the work that is planned for the French Quarter with the Supergraw subcommittee.
Any other questions from the dais? All right. No further questions. Thank you, Ms. Frankie. That will conclude our second quarter meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will conclude our first quarter report. Thank you.
All right. I will take up the next presentation if we adjourn, council
Yes,
member.
I'm sorry. We are adjourned. We are adjourned. Everyone vote your machines to properly adjourn. All right, 5 yeas, no nays. Motion is adopted. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right, guys, come on down. All right, I invite Brother Martin to come to the table.